Nobody wants new poppy Christmas, Nicole.
Well, where do you think the old poppy Christmas came from? Somebody had to create it, so...
Well, it's old to me, and that's how it should be.
I'm not against the old songs. I just like it when new songs come out and they're good.
I just like Bublé.
I do like the Bublé.
It's all about Bublé for me.
It's
all right.
December 1st.
Yeah, it is December 1st, which means every week from now until Christmas, I will be wearing my Christmas shirts on Friday Live.
Yeah, I had to pull them out and say, are you going to wear these?
I always kind of forget. Like, I think of it at like December 20th, and then I only have a few days to wear goofy Christmas shirts. So we have quite a few doozies in there. So hey, it's Friday Live. We skipped last week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So we have a little bit of a backlog of things to get to today. First of all, Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can.
Why we're here.
TheWoodWhisperer.com. We're only here for Patreon.
No, we're here because of.
It's all about money for her.
You're an ass.
Patreon.com/woodwhisperer, and you could sign up at various different levels, get some things in return, and help support the show. We'll also thank you at the top of the show, like I'm going to do for these folks, because it was 2 weeks. We've got a few here. Chris Sarka, Brad Ferguson, Jack Ernest,
Brad Ferguson.
Canyon Washburn.
Is it that Brad Ferguson?
Yes, it is.
Well, you know who I'm talking about.
Nope. Steve Williams, Michael Bordeaux, not Bublé, Bordeaux, Jordan DeMoss, Andy Goodwin, Colin Smith, Ron Kuderbach, Dan Fogel, Jeff Grant, Derek Annison, Peter Anderson, Grant and Deb.
Tree Frog. Brad, that's Tree Frog.
Is it?
Yes. You need more coffee. Sorry, Brad.
Jay Grassi. And you know what? Here's a cool thing. On the live page, if you look over at the top right, we have our top Patreon supporters listed there. So if you want to go see who those folks are, they are our best friends now. So go check them out. Okay, a couple little announcements. Sculpted Rocker is 30% off this weekend in the Guild. If you're interested, go to thewoodwhispererguild.com. You get 30% off of that. It's a pretty good deal. TWWStore.com, we have a sale still going on. My mom's trying to offload a bunch of stuff there, so we have some good discounts.
And once they're gone, it's done. We're done.
Yeah, some of those things we're not doing again. You also have to get your orders in by the 13th because I kind of angered Mom a little bit with this one.
Why?
I told her when she comes to my house, she is not to work. No. So when she's coming out here for Christmas, the store closes. And my mom's a little bit of a workaholic. I see where I get it from. And I have a feeling she's going to be kind of lost. She's not going to know what to do with herself while she's here. But she will not be working. So the store will be closed.
And
you got a thank you here?
Yep, I got a couple thank yous. I got one from Julian. Cedeno. Mark and Nicole, first off, I wanted to say thank you kindly for what you do.
You're welcome.
You two are so much fun to watch in your videos. The dynamic is always a good time. I purchased a few guild projects, and I'm finally embarking on the Barrister bookcase.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
The quality of your instruction and in-depth explanation is paramount to me and spot on for where I'm at in my experience level. That's really nice.
It is. That's great.
Videos and podcasts have been an inspiration for me, and I enjoy them regularly. I'm a police officer by profession and woodworker by passion. Every Friday Live, usually...
Hide your weed, Nicole.
Hey, I live in Colorado. I don't have to hide my weed. Usually...
Hide your drugs.
I don't have any. Usually never live with my work schedule. Here's a weirdo. It's something I look forward to every week. My shop time is my decompression time, and you two are staples in it. That makes me feel so nice.
Hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your weed.
As a small token of appreciation, I've included a challenge coin I got for you guys.
Yay!
I hope you have room to add it to your collection. Definitely. In fact,
plenty of room.
One of my to-do lists is to hang that wonderful
Her to-do list, which is actually my to-do list. It's a to-do list she made.
I have it there. I have all my coins ready. And I'm gonna, once I get it hung, I'm gonna take pictures and all that stuff. Julian, he knows me. He knows me. He's even doing the phonetic.
Yeah, we would say Julian, but it's Julian.
Julian Cedeno. I know how much you love challenging names. Julian, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome.
I hope we're helping you decompress. This next thing we're going to show you might make you laugh. So I'm not sure. There's no notes.
Oh, dude.
There's no note in here.
So we don't know who sent this to us?
I know who sent it to us, but only a last name. The
The Wunicky family?
Wunicky family in Wisconsin. There's no note.
That's awesome. This is the, is this the one Cashel did?
Cashel did.
So a friend of ours does great Photoshop work, and I think was it Matt Scranton who did the original?
Yes, he did the original.
And then Cashel, who is just like really good with Photoshop, she put my face on Sheldon Cooper's body for his Bazinga poster that they have for Big Bang Theory, and then it says Boobinga.
And I was looking for a note, I was looking for an email, I couldn't find anything.
I love the fact that it's a pink mug as well, which really, you know, just kind of caps the whole thing off for me. This is great.
Isn't that great? I love it.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Wunicky family.
Wunicky family. So, there we go.
All right.
We got some questions from Patreon.
Yes, let's do them. So
And
these,
it is Tree Frog, Brad Ferguson.
okay, well, there could be more than one Brad Ferguson.
I know, it could be a comment.
And actually, I thought his birth name was Tree Frog. Sorry. You'll have to excuse me. You know, we used to, I missed the guy.
AWFS.
Well, I went to a class with him.
Yeah.
We hung out all week. That was great. I missed that guy. What have you been up to, man? All right, let's do some questions. These are all from folks on Patreon. You sort of get preferential treatment there, but we also will get questions from the YouTube chat that Nicole will field. I'll try to get through these. Some of these are pretty deep today.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, Yoso wrote in. He says, I just got my first HVLP system, the Fuji Mini Mite. Which accessories do you use with your HVLP turbines? Do you use a whip hose? Do you keep multiple needle and cap sets on hand? All right, so real quick, I do have multiple needle and cap sets, but the reality is I only typically use one or two. Most of the time, I have something in the range of 1 to 1.5 millimeters in there, and I find that's a good general use, you know, for lacquers and, let's see, shellac, dyes, things like that. I mean, you might want to finesse the spray pattern and get it even better. That's why you have those other sets. But generally speaking, you can get a lot of spraying done with just that single one cap. If you're doing, you know, thick paint, you may want to sort of expand your selection there, get something a little bit bigger. But that's really it on the gun. I don't really have a ton of needles and caps. I do have a whip hose.
What?
This is called a whip hose. So the idea with a whip hose is you have your main hose that connects to your turbine, right? And this is kind of like a garden hose, rubbery material. The whip hose is like a 6-foot, 4-foot extension.
It's harder than a garden hose.
This one?
Yeah. Oh, that one.
An industrial garden hose.
I thought you were talking about this part.
No. So this is more flexible. It's lighter, so that when you're at you're actually spraying, that's on the ground. So the only weight you're supporting is a lighter hose, and you have the ability to kind of rotate and turn around without, you know, disconnecting. And also you can have an inline airflow control, which is nice, just to kind of tone things down a little bit if you need to. And you have a quick connect, which goes right into your turbine like this. So I do have the whip hose. It's not totally necessary, but it is a nice creature comfort. And I don't know if they still have this, but they also have this red, to my understanding, this is a heat hose. So the air that comes out, think of like a vacuum cleaner. The exhaust of a vacuum cleaner, if you ever put your hand back there, it's really warm. And that warmth is something that can affect your finish, right? If you have warm air and finish, it's gonna dry faster. So this heat hose, as I understand it, is there to sort of dissipate the heat as it comes out of the turbine so that by the time it reaches the gun, it's a little bit cooler. And also I'm imagining the heat that comes out of there will wear the hose a little bit faster because of that extra heat. So this heat hose is a little bit more heat resistant. And if I'm incorrect on this, someone in the chat room can correct me. But to my knowledge, that's the reason you have those things. And that's about all I have for my HVLP system.
Cool.
All right. Mike Davies wrote in, hey, Mark, you've said in the past you can't really tell what a board is going to do in terms of movement before you start working with it. But you also said when Matt was there that the new wood you got was all reaction wood just by looking at it. Which is it, man? Just kidding. But any tips for picking out lumber that will behave when you cut it will be more than welcome. All right, so this is just, it's sort of an educated guess prediction. It's not always correct, and this example is actually a good one. So when you're looking at lumber, a lot of times the stack is all associated, right? Sometimes it's, you know, from the same tree or from the same part of a forest maybe. It may not be, you know, but generally speaking, if you can look at a stack of lumber and you see the boards are all wonky and none of them are really sitting flat, that's your first warning sign. If they've already dried to a point where they are not straight anymore, you may very well have a problem. So what we were looking at was a picked through stack. And the only thing left in this stack were boards that were going every which way. And then when you look closely at the boards, you can actually start to see some checked areas where there's cracks. That's another warning sign. So those surface checks a lot of times can indicate things that are going on below the surface, sort of tension that's inside those wood fibers. You want to avoid that stuff. And that was all they had, so we had to go with it. So our prediction was based on this stuff just looking wonky to begin with, and a lot of the boards, not the ones we picked, but the ones that were next to the ones we picked, had a lot of checks and cracks in them. It just led us to believe there was a good chance that when we get that back to the shop, the wood is just going to go boing as soon as you cut it. So it was sort of just using our best guess in that case. What actually wound up happening was the wood turned out to actually be pretty stable, but it was still not perfectly straight, so we had to mill it pretty far to get it down to you know, a nice flat and square sort of conformation. So you can kind of use your best guess, but it's never a guarantee that it actually is going to be bad, but you want to avoid that. If it already looks wonky, chances are it's only going to get worse from there. Okay, these are going to be involved.
Before you do that, I just want to say thank you to MLCS for sponsoring last month's giveaway.
Yeah, thank you, MLCS.
I picked the winner this morning, and he wrote me back like that. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Christopher. He won the cabinet makers, and I'm going to be putting up a giveaway probably later today from Powermatic, and maybe Fuji Spray. I haven't got confirmation on that one yet, but definitely Powermatic, and it's a good prize. So.
MLCS, that stands for Mark Loves Crazy Stories. Not many people know that.
I didn't know it either.
Okay, you know? Cliff Chambers wrote in, he says, I'm building a couple of Guild jewelry boxes. I know that normally you want the grain to run lengthwise across a drawer front, but I have a very interesting piece of walnut with a big figured crack that I'll fill with epoxy, and it would look best if I tilted it because the drawer, and cut the drawers out so that the grain runs somewhere in between vertical and horizontal, and towards the left and right sides of the drawers, it might be running completely vertical. How bad is this plan? My biggest concern is that I don't know what technique you are going to demonstrate for the curved fronts, or whether or not that will complicate issues. So let's take a look. I've got my jewelry box. It is a work in progress here, so you guys can have a point of reference. Pardon me while I move the camera. Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Distracted once again by your beauty, Nicole. Okay. All right, that looks good. So in this jewelry box, part of the plan, and what he's referring to, is that we'll be cutting a curve in these drawer fronts, and that curve will carry out through to the sides here as well. I don't think, if you have your grain running vertically, I don't think cutting the curve is really going to be problematic. The thing I am concerned about, though, is your dovetails. All right, so if you do decide to do dovetail joinery on the sides here, you're now, you know, your drawer side is fine, but you're cutting into side grain, right? Because your grain would be running vertically. So what does that do? Well, I've got an example here. If this were your drawer front, right, obviously very large, exaggerated thing. Here's your drawer side coming in like this with these two tails here, and this is now your grain direction. So what that does, a couple different things. Like, I don't think it's actually gonna be disastrous, especially because it's a small jewelry box. Like, who cares? It's not gonna be under that much pressure. But we're just talking about like theoretical, it's sort of an academic conversation here. So if your tail is sitting in this socket right there, your joint, which would normally be a face grain or a long grain to long grain glue bond here, is now long grain to end grain. So that's a little bit weaker. You also have a end grain to long grain bond here, right? You will have some face grain underneath here where the tail sits in the socket, but again, I feel like I'm, you know, sort of, it's almost semantics, but I still think it's something we should discuss. Here, you've got the grain running this way. This little pin is going to be pretty weak. So as you're chiseling this, I actually imagine you may have trouble with this thing when you're doing the chiseling operation. You may very easily pop out this pin. It's just going to be weak. You could probably, you know, take your finger and go bloop and pop it right off. Okay, so I just think you're going to wind up with weak pins if you do it this way. It's certainly possible. You're going to have to be careful. But if this is prized material, it kind of makes me nervous to see you go at it with this, unless you do a different type of joinery. You know, if you do a different type of joinery, you could do probably anything you want. Got a sneeze?
I got a sneeze.
Bless you, Nicole.
No.
Oh,
I pinched it.
You pinched it off. By the way, this jewelry box is still in the early bird bundle if anyone's interested in getting that for 50% off in the guild.
So, are you going to save this jewelry box for Ava when she gets a little older?
Well, I was going to give it to you, and you could save it for whomever you want to.
Okay.
I could give it to Ava now, and she could put Cheerios in it.
Oh, that's funny.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, the funny thing is we do these sales, 30% off, all the time on the guild projects for Christmas.
The Christmas.
I don't know how many people realize that projects right now are 50% off in the bundle. In the bundle. In the early bird bundle, right? Yeah. So it's like, that is the best price you're going to get, minus the Cyber Monday sale we just did.
Yeah, that's true. But right now, did you say what this weekend sale is?
Yeah, I did.
The Sculpted Rocker.
The Sculpted Rocker.
God, that thing is beautiful.
That's a biggie. Okay, so Chuck Rice says he's trying to apply shellac for the first time on a small piece, but keeps getting runs and brush marks and have to sand it back and start again. What's the best way to avoid this? Should I thin it? And if so, with what? Should I use a cloth to apply it instead of a brush? Well, you know what? I don't apply that much shellac. It's not my favorite finish to apply, but there are other ways that you could do it. First, yeah, you could definitely thin things out. That might give you a little bit more time for it to flow, especially on a small piece. You know, you don't have to worry about it too much because it's you don't have to apply like you're doing like a big tabletop. So you really shouldn't have too much of a problem. But if it, you get better results, maybe thin it down with what? Denatured alcohol. With what? There are other types of alcohol you could use, but denatured is the most commonly available and easy to get. If you want to pad on the shellac, look up French polishing. You don't necessarily have to do a full-on French polish, but you could learn a lot about how to apply shellac with a pad instead of a brush and sort of get a kind of French polished surface.
Who's the guy that's like king of French polish?
I wouldn't call him the king of French polish, but he's definitely focused on shellac.
Who I know.
VJ Velji.
I love his name. Love it.
And you know what? Look up some videos. There are plenty of videos on how to apply shellac out there. And there's probably a lot of tips and tricks that I don't even know about because I don't use it that often.
Didn't you interview VJ in the guild?
I did. Yeah, we have a guild interview with him. Okay, so Mark Nyland wrote in, good morning, everyone. I'm at a turning point. Mark. Yes, good morning, sir. I'm at a turning point, would like your opinion. I really need a crosscut sled for my table saw. I'm in a quandary. Do I make 2 or 3 different sleds needed or just bite the bullet and purchase the Incra Miter 5000? I know you recently purchased one and are using the Incra sled. The main question, I guess, is it worth the money? I'm
going to piggyback on Mark's because Graham Allen has a very similar question. Powermatic PM 2000 saw, Incra 5000 miter saw. Notice you have your setup on the left side. Is it okay for the left tilt saw?
Yes. Okay. Let's go look at it, shall we? Here we go. We're going on a field trip. Did you sign my permission slip?
I need to sign the tails.
Oh, okay. Hello, Miter 5000. So this is the 5000 sled. I'll just very quickly go through this. Did a full video in a guild meeting purely focused on this, which was kind of fun. So the idea with this is you have full adjustability for different angles, something that's a lot harder to accomplish on a shop-made sled. You have the ability to get different bases if you cut into it. Let's say you're doing some kind of a beveled cut, you can get different bases for that. Now this is the reason why mine is on the left side. I have a left tilt saw, right? So if I have this on the left side and I ever tilt this blade for a bevel cut, it's gonna cut into this. So people who are doing lots of bevel cuts may want to mount this on the right side. I didn't do that because I actually use dados more than I do bevel cuts. So as I put a dado in here, it's gonna stack to the right. So what that allows me to do is I can actually remove this piece or even flip it around this way, give myself a little breathing room, and I can put a full dado stack in here and never contact my sled. So that's the reason why mine is mounted to the left, right? But it's gonna be a personal decision based on the kind of work that you do and the kind of stuff that you cut. The question of whether or not this thing's always a pain on this side. We'll get that later. It was fine until I touched it. The question is whether or not this completely replaces crosscut sleds. I don't know yet. I have been doing my initial work with this thing on small parts. It has been fabulous, absolutely awesome on small parts. I would see no reason to have a crosscut sled if all I was doing were small projects. The question is what happens on larger pieces, things that I normally would rely on my crosscut sled for. I don't know yet. I haven't done a larger piece, and when I do, I will certainly report back. But I will say, so far so good with this thing. I really enjoy using it. That's better. But yeah, it's a good buy at this point. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to get rid of my sleds. So we'll have to see. And it is extremely expensive. So that is a big downside to it.
Jordan wants to know when the new Guild bundle is going to come out. I already have the jewelry box as part of the last bundle that I purchased. So you probably wouldn't qualify. You wouldn't be ready for a bundle until the jewelry box is out.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. The jewelry box is going to be out.
It will be very soon.
Because you usually change the bundle about a month into the build, right?
Yeah, well, and here's the problem. Here's what's happening. I'm going to leak a little bit of information here.
He's unorganized.
Yes, we're going to have some new instructors in the guild.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And what this is going to lead to is having more than 4 projects a year.
And more choice.
And more choice. So where we're headed with this is we're going to get rid of the early bird bundle as like a standalone product, because people are like, when are you going to change the bundle? And it's something we have to do. Yeah. Instead, what we will likely have is more than 4 pre-order projects, and pre-order projects will fall out when they're no longer pre-orders. When it's an actual project, it falls out. So you may have, I don't know, anywhere from 6, maybe even 8 projects per year to choose. And all you have to do is pick 4 and you get the full discount at 50%. Yep. You could pick more and it'll all be at 50% off, but if you pick less, you don't get the big discount. So that's where we're moving toward. And this way it'll give people more options. If you like one instructor better than another, you can avoid an instructor's projects, but still get the full discount. So we've got some really cool people, nothing 100% official yet, but we may see a little bit more feminine influence in the guild. There's a little hint.
Not me, not me.
Which means Cremona's going to be doing more projects. What do you think about that?
Michael Gomez, any hints to the new instructors? Well, I guess
I just gave you one.
That was a hint right there.
They will be less hairy than they currently are. What do you think about that? I'm not going to say anything because I haven't committed to anybody yet. Okay. All right. So, Daryl Peart. I have kind of committed to Daryl. So Daryl Peart will be. I've got a book actually, all of our travel, my travel, to go out there in February. So he's going to be doing. Shoot, what is it? It's like a nightstand end table thing. I can't remember what the name is.
Julian is in the chat room, so he's either in his car watching us, sneaking watching us.
Who is that? The cop?
Yeah. For be on your best behavior.
Yeah, hide your weed. All right. That joke's not going to get old.
No.
Jean Johnson, would you pronounce Jean as J-E-N as Janae or Jean?
Jean.
Okay. Thanks for the review you did on the miter saws.
You really shouldn't ask me anything. I
really shouldn't. It's like the Dumb and Dumber over here. Thanks for the review on miter saws. We're receiving a 12-inch Bosch Glide miter soon. Do you have a miter station you could show off? If not, for watching your videos, I don't think I would have been encouraged to push my skill level to the next step. Thank you. Gene, out of Chico, California.
Chico.
Thanks for that. And no, I don't have a miter station. I basically got a table that we bought at Sam's Club. I replaced the top with, I destroyed some cabinets that were in the shop when I first moved in and turned those into a new top for it. So a miter station is incoming. And I've said this before.
I think that should be a guild project.
Ooh, girl. Really?
Yeah, why not? Get all in it.
We'll see. Now, here's the thing, though. When people hear miter station, they expect like doodads, gizmos, and tchotchkes.
Cha-chas.
Whoa! Nicole, we're trying to keep advertiser-friendly content here. So the thing is, my miter bench is really going to be very basic, and I feel like people would be disappointed if I do something that is not like mind-blowing. Yeah. And you know, like
you don't want to live up to that pressure. Huh?
Like King's Fine Furniture and his extreme miter station.
Oh yeah.
Jay Bates made a fantastic miter station. Like I don't know that I'm going to go that path because I think a miter station doesn't need to be all that complicated. So I don't know. We'll see about that. Don't pressure me, okay?
Okay.
Oh, by the way, speaking of King's Fine Woodworking, is that what you call it? Yeah, King's Fine Woodworking. Yep. So Dude makes me a mallet. I haven't received it yet.
Yeah.
But he made me a mallet, and I told him I want to pay for it, and he's like, nonsense. And I said, nonsense to you, sir. And so I want to give him promotion.
Yeah.
But we'll show it off when we have it. Lignum Vitae and Purple Heart.
Yeah.
And it's a giant Thor hammer. The guy's nuts.
So, well, did I tell people about the Handmade Holiday gift guide?
Probably not, because we were off last week.
That's right. So last year I put together a list of like a lot of guild members' Etsy stores and their stores if they sell their stuff. So I did it again this year. So I ended up buying a ton of gifts for friends and family from that this year. That coffee scoop.
Yeah.
That we got from Mike.
I
bought another one from him, and I'm gonna put it in like. I have this whole plan. It's going to be so neat. But anyway, if you don't have time to make your gifts, you can totally support the woodworking community by heading over to thewoodwhisperer.com. I think it's still the first post on the front of the website. Yeah. It has 35 shops of just
makes me feel so good to be able to do that.
Tons and tons and tons of amazing work that's ready to ship.
And Nicole gets feedback all year long from people who are like, thank you so much. I'm still getting traffic from that post, so it's really cool.
But I love it.
And that's all Nicole, by the way. I got nothing to do with that.
I had to have said it on this show because a lot of the stores that I got were from people that were watching this, but I hadn't.
Good that you said it again.
I didn't announce that it was posted, so there you go. It's posted.
Okay, my last question here. This is from Michael Bordeaux. Setting up a woodworking shop in my basement. Dust control is of key importance. I agree. Do you use Festool sanders? And if so, what do you think about their dust control? Okay. Dust control on a sander is not that difficult. I used to have a DeWalt 5-inch random orbit sander. I would connect it to my shop vac, and it worked great. But I do think that Festool has really given a lot of thought to dust control and airflow. So it is what I would consider one of, if not the best ways to collect dust if you're using a sander. It's got a steep price tag to go with it, so that may make it not an option for a lot of people. But one of the things I really like about it is over the years they have refined their pad design. And they have just tons of airport holes on here, and the paper, of course, matches that hole pattern. So even if you just had this outer ring of holes, it would still work pretty well. But man, they've got it to the point where it's like, it's odd to say this, but you can probably, I don't know that I would do it, but you can probably do sanding with this thing and not wear any kind of protection at all. And I'm sure most people do that. Like, I'm a little bit paranoid about it. It's like, I don't know what they claim for the number, but it's probably like 99.9% effective in terms of how much dust it pulls off the surface. So I think they are one of the best, if not the best, but that does not mean that other sanders are inadequate, And like I said, I'm wearing a respirator anyway, so even if I wasn't getting perfect dust collection from my sander, let's say it was 90% effective, I'm still protected anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But you're right, in a basement, it's very connected to the house. You're sharing an HVAC system with the rest of the house. You probably want to make sure you keep as much dust out of the air as possible. So thumbs up for me.
Speaking of mallets, Jeannie Grassy says, Mark, why do you have so many different mallets?
Listen, Jeannie, I'll tell you why. Look at these things.
They're beautiful.
How can you have just one?
Is this the one you bought when you took
my dovetail
class when we went to visit David?
In Santa Rosa, baby, at the Woodcraft Santa Rosa.
I remember that.
So these are fantastic. I bought these in a moment of weakness, and I bought the whole set, and I love them. I mean, I've used the crap out of them over the years. They're just nice. These are the Glen Drake tight hammers, I think they're called.
This one has a nice patina.
It has a nice patina and a nice Italian grease finish from my hands. So, I like them. I have the set. That was my moment of weakness purchase. Now, the rest of these, I was on Lee Valley's website, and I was like, those look cute. I want them. So I bought those. And this one was a gift. This is from Shenandoah Toolworks. And they were at Woodworking in America one year. And I got this as a nice little parting gift. And they were really nice to me. I actually don't use this one that much. I like it. It takes some getting used to, the format here and the shape, with that taper on it, but really, really nice. And of course, you gotta have a wooden mallet, right? This I use to beat my my holdfast down. I just like using wood for that, so I beat the crap out of this thing. And this is a Narex mallet. So why do I have so many? I don't know. Why does Nicole have 150 pairs of shoes?
Or, 20 purses.
20 purses.
And I use like this big.
Why do we have 35 mugs? in that cabinet.
Because people keep sending them to us.
You know, it's one of those things. So there's really no good answer to it. I like them. It's one of the things, again, kind of like marking gauges. I've got like 4 or 5 marking gauges and cutting gauges. They're just fun. And sometimes getting a really nice, well-made tool that doesn't take up much space is just, you know, part of the collector's aspect of what we do. All right, what else we got? We're gonna finish up here.
Super chats.
Let's do them, yo.
Super chat. Got one from David Hunter. Hey there, I have 4, count 'em, 4.
Quattro.
Longboards I want to make a panel from. One bowed after sawing. My jointer is too short and the table saw jig isn't repeatable. Is there a good manual way to take out the bow? It's maple.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. What about the bow?
It's tricky with the bow because if you've got severe, you know, cupping, and it's hard. You need the jointer to get that done. Now, a lot of times, you know, people will try to force a bowed board flat, you know, you're using moisture and clamps and things like that. And I find that doesn't really work that well. A lot of times the wood just kind of goes back to what it was before. But I don't, other than like kerfing, all right, sometimes you can actually kerf a board by cutting little slices in the underside that you'll never see if it's on the underside of like a tabletop or the inside of a panel. You could weaken the structure and force it to be flat by doing that. But you know, short of that, maybe a router sled option to kind of clean up one side, and then you could put it through a planer. That's another way to go. But I mean, if the stuff is already near your target thickness, you're going to have some problems with that.
Let's see. Ness G. Hey, Ness, if you're still awake, hi.
Good day.
It was 1 a.m. there when we first started.
Yeah.
She says, good day, Spags. Happy Friday holidays to you. We're in Oz. I know Oz is Australia.
Good job, Nicole.
I know. You will be visiting as I will need to make some travel plans. Haha, have a good weekend. Cheers. What's the convention?
I don't know. I don't remember the name.
I'm looking it up.
It's early. Let's just keep going with questions.
It's in October though.
I don't know. We'll just keep going with questions.
I'll email it.
We'll talk about it when we know more about it.
Yeah. Okay, I already asked Jordan's. Thomas, I just bought my first guild project, the shaker table, and I was wondering if you had some tips with regards to things to watch out for. Really happy to finally be a guild member. We're happy to have you.
Things to watch out for?
It should be in the video, right?
Well, that's one of those things. That's the joy of the guild.
Yeah.
It's like everything I had to tell people is in the video.
Right.
If there was
and if it's not, it's in the comments of the page.
Yeah, the write-up or
like
the comments.
Tons of comments.
There are absolutely times where I'm editing the video down and doing the write-up and I go, ah, crap, I should have elaborated a little bit more on that. I'll do that in the write-up. So yeah, every tip I could possibly give you with regard to that project is in that project.
Kenny K, have a cuppy. Cuppy.
Have a cuppy.
Cuppy.
Kenny K, have a cuppy.
Cuppy. I've been playing too much South Park. Kenny.
Kenny. Okay.
Have a coffee and Cheerios in that box.
Nice.
Wrong. I don't know what that means, but okay. Don Brewer, I got an MFT with a 90-degree rail for $40.
What? That's a steal, man.
I can get a track saw for $500 used. Would this be an acceptable stand-in for the much more expensive Kapex?
No. I mean, it depends on what you're cutting with it, right? The MFT is best with, you know, panels and sheet goods and things like that. Now, you can definitely extend it to do things with solid wood. You can cut thicker pieces with it. But you're really looking at two very different form factors with a miter saw versus that. But if you've already got the MFT, you may as well just get the thing, because you're going to be cutting sheet goods anyway. Get that and do what you can with it. Try to extend it. Look on the Festool owners group and see what people are doing with the MFT. You could probably find a lot of tips and tricks there. But I can't say that I would see it as a replacement for a chop saw because, you know, again, just very different form factors. But there will be some overlap, and with some creativity, you could probably do a lot with it.
Jordan Terrell, alternatives to plywood with veneer for guild dining table. Top. Would alternating grain direction panels be stable, i.e. glue up 2 1/4-inch thick panels to both sides of a 1/2-inch core panel, grain direction opposing?
Yeah, I guess you could if you want to, but I would just, you know, my alternative, the go-to, is just to use regular plywood. What we did in that video was use the plywood core and put our own veneer on it.
Sounds like he doesn't want to do the veneer, right?
Yeah, but if he's just doing 1/4-inch layups and alternating grain, he's doing the same operation you would do to put a thinner veneer on there. So it depends on why he's looking for an alternative.
Well, if you have that project, just email him.
Yeah, just email me.
We have the support on the guild.
But I would say just go get a very high quality cabinet grade plywood, edge it out, and that is a perfectly good top material for that. I can understand why you might want something thicker, but you email me and let me know why why you can laminate 1/4-inch material and make your panels, but you can't veneer. It's
support, right? woodwhispererguild.com/support.
Well, go to the top right on your name, click on that, the drop down, it'll have a support form in there for you.
Quick enough. Says, Mark, have you ever had your dado blade sharpened? And if so, did you see any cut quality difference after?
Yeah, I've had it sharpened. I send my stuff to Forrest. Haven't, usually it's up to snuff. It cuts better than it did when I sent it to him, and that's all I can really ask. A lot of times, though, you got to go to a reputable sharpener because, someone can actually change the geometry of the teeth and screw things up for you. So you got to be careful.
We got one from R. Dennett. Just got a hollow chisel mortiser. Any recommendations on which chisels to buy, brands and sizes? You guys are fantastic. Merry Christmas.
There's a lot of cheap mortising chisels out there. When I finally got sick of the cheap ones, I went to Lee Valley and they sell, I can't remember what the brand is, I don't have a link. But they are a little bit pricier, but they are much higher quality. And those are the ones that I settled in on. As far as which ones to get in size range, just think of the common joints you're gonna need to do. 1/4-inch, 3/8, half, really is about it. But you can get others. So yeah, go to Lee Valley, look for literally their most expensive hollow chisel set, and that's the one that I have.
So Jordan did a super chat for that guild dining table. Question. So yeah, Jordan, email Mark.
Yeah, send me an email. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
We'll discuss it.
Yes.
And I think that's
it.
Is it? I mean, I'm sure there were other questions, but I was just grabbing what I could.
Super duper. Hey, you know what?
Oh, you want to pick a question?
I wrote winner here so that I wouldn't forget. Let's see. Let's go with Mike Davies. Has he won before?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, Mike Davies, I liked your question about wood movement and knowing whether boards are going to be reaction wood or not.
There you go.
Okay, anything else we need to cover? Are we doing the holiday show next week?
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
We'll have plenty of time to prep.
Yeah.
So here's what we're hoping to do. Next week, we want to do kind of like a gift guide. Okay, so products that, me and even Nicole like and use and recommend, a lot of it, most of it should be wood related, hopefully. And we will just kind of cover those and anything I have in person, like this is going to be something I'll recommend, is this travel mug, which is fantastic. And we'll just show you some cool products and give you some ideas for the holidays.
Paul Bennett quickly wanted to know about finding out about his order for the shop apron.
Well, here's the problem. If you were not in that first order of 25, the big answer is I don't know. We're going through a very...
I've been getting questions about, hey, where was I? What was my number?
It's impossible to tell at this point. So...
Well, no, I can go in and look at the dates of when they ordered. So like Peter,
I was trying to get out of work.
You can
We could have just let it go. It's impossible. But now you have work to do today.
Okay.
Good job. But yeah, the first batch will be out in time for Christmas, as we promised. But after that, it's going to be, hopefully it won't be that long. I just don't want to make any promises because I don't want people to be disappointed. But Calavera is hard at work, and hopefully the first sets will start going out soon. They have the orders and the addresses, and they will be drop shipping directly to you guys. Okay? So hopefully that'll happen quickly. David had a great idea. I want to say David Hunter. It is a great idea. And it kind of reminds me of what we do with the garage, the shops, where we have different sizes and different blah, 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 with all the search options. Yeah. So he's saying it would be nice if you guys had a search by my tool option list of projects which match the tools they have in his shop. He has in his shop. So like, for instance, like, I guess with the gaming table, what are the tools that are required? That'll never happen. I know it's a lot of work. And I'm saying it's a great idea, but it's really... Yeah, but here's the problem. Woodworking is not that black and white. Right. So when I list tools, it's one of my least favorite things to do because you list a tool, same thing with difficulty level. You put a difficulty level on that and you have someone, especially a beginner, comes up and says, oh, that's an intermediate. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not ready for that. But that's BS because you absolutely are ready for it. The whole point is you're getting instruction that will teach you how to make this thing. So while there is some validity to it, for the most part, I find skill level, claims with projects to be useless. And when it comes to tools, there are so many alternative ways to get something done that I can only show one and maybe a second. Like sometimes if it's something where I'm using a specialized tool, I will show, oh, here's another way you can do it. But I can't do that every time, and I can't do it, for every operation that we do. So I don't want someone to think that if they don't have a router table, that they can't do this project. They can. They might have to do things a little bit differently. So that's why.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, I understand where he's coming from. That would be nice, but
you don't want to limit.
It's a very limited way for you to find projects you can do because there's always different ways to do things.
Graham wants to know if the jewelry box is going to be completed by Christmas.
I hope so.
Yeah. Mateo wants you to be done with it now.
Yeah, he wants me to get started on my second project there for him. I hope so. I'm going cranking it out. Nicole forced me to take time off for Thanksgiving.
I did. He needed it.
Yeah, and I'll be taking time off for Christmas as well.
Yeah.
So it's really crunch time right now. I'm trying to get it done, and then this way we'll get the videos out as soon as possible.
Yep.
And I don't like videos to go into Christmas because I want people to be focused on other things. Okay, I think that's it for the show.
That's the show.
All right, high five, Nicole.
Oh.
Nice pink sweater.
Thanks. Nice green shirt.
Get me on the downside.
Oh, sorry.
All right. You're awesome. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. And we will see you next week hopefully with the holiday gift guide.
Oh yeah, holiday gift guide.